Welcome today. Today I'll be talking about navigating your network, crafting your advisory board for success. I want to encourage all of you to start networking and practicing here. Hopefully you had an opportunity to already attend some of the workshops. So I'm really building on some of those skills of networking. And if you haven't, I'm going to encourage you to visit the recordings once they're posted and also attend the events that are still coming up later today. So without further said, I do want to, get all of you to engage and see who's in the room. So why don't you go ahead and if you feel comfortable, share your name, your major, and what CUNY school or organization are you joining us from? We're trying to simulate what would have happened if we would have been in a room and we show up and, we get an opportunity to talk with each other.
Can anybody go first?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you could just put it into the chat. So I'm waiting for the chat to pop up, but if you want to go ahead and share, go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Genevieve Jamari. Um, um, I'm from the island of St. Lucia. My major is disability studies. I'm with CUNY School of Professional Studies. In the master's program.
Fantastic. So thank you so much. And if you don't feel comfortable sharing, you can just go ahead and put it in the chat. Remember that networking is really about building that network so you get to see who's here with us.
Okay, no problem. I was trying to talk.
Okay. I just want to confirm with our SPS personnel that you can see the presentation. I just got a little message in full screen. Are we okay on that?
Beg your pardon?
Yep, all good.
Okay. All right. So just making sure. Okay. So thank you everyone who's sharing in the chat. By the end of this workshop, these are just some learning objectives that we have for you. All of you should walk away understanding what the personal board of directors is. You should be able to identify at least one action step that you can take after this presentation, and then understand the importance of having diverse advisors. Okay. All right, so what is the advisory board? So many of you might have been drawn to this presentation, wanting to know more about how to build, what is this thing, right? So once you really become really comfortable with networking and putting yourself out there, you want to start thinking about how to be more strategic in who you cultivate, and really start to think about having multiple people part of your board, right? So if you think of a table, who gets to sit at that table, right? So typically it's a group of about 5 to 8 core people that you go to for support and advice to help you advance your career. Oftentimes they can advise you, they can strategize with you, they can coach you, they can mention your name in important places and help you connect with the next opportunity. Also, you might need someone, to give you reassurance about an idea that you have, right? So someone to help you brainstorm. But also they provide a lot of comfort and reassurance, especially when you're navigating the gray area of the unknown, right? But again, what I want to encourage all of you to do is to think about having multiple people on this table, because one person cannot solve everything for you, right? And you might have different questions that this particular individual that you consistently go to, for example, a mentor who is maybe not as experienced in a different area, you might have a question that they're not able to answer. So it's important to start thinking about different people that can advise on different types of subjects and issues that you might encounter as you're navigating not only college, I hear graduate school as well, and as you're entering the workforce, but also once you become a seasoned professional, who can help you navigate how to move up and the different transitions that you might need to make as an individual. So again, I want to encourage all of you to start to think of building and long-lasting relationships with multiple people that can help you build the best version of yourself, and to think about building that table with people that are intentional about helping you and helping you become, again, the best version of yourself. Okay? All right, so many of you might be thinking, well, I already have a mentor. Why do I need more than one mentor? And it goes exactly back to what I was saying, right? So having one mentor, and many of you hopefully you have, and if you don't have one, a mentor is someone who is typically a little bit older than you. They might be very experienced in their field. Some of you, your professors might serve as mentors. Um, and the difference really between mentorship and the board of advisors is a mentor serves a role on your board of advisors, right? So your board might be consistent of 5 to 8 people. And on that board, your mentor is one of those individuals. They're not the only one, right? So think about the types of questions that you've been asking your mentor, and why are you going to them? Or what kind of advice are you seeking for them? Or are they helping you explore a new part of your career? Maybe they're giving you advice on how to navigate undergraduate to graduate school. So think about the role that they're playing and start to think about what other areas you're looking to expand. Okay. And again, I'm starting to plant this seed of having multiple advisors, so that you can start to expand also your breadth of knowledge. Diversity is very important, when we're thinking about our board of directors or board of advisors. So I'm going to break it up into two different types of roles that you can have on your board. The first section that I'm going to cover is your professional, right? So out of those 5 to 8 individuals that you want to have on your board, some of them should be professional, some of them might be personal, and I'll cover that in the next slide. So the first one that I want to encourage all of you to start thinking about and cultivating this relationship, I call them the Rock. They are an industry expert with over 15 plus years of experience. Right before I got on this call, I was chatting up with some of the people that are helping today, and Annie has over 40 years of experience in the nursing field. If anyone's a nurse in here making a pitch, that's someone you might look to for advice, right? So think about that. Think about someone who has years of experience, who's been in and out of one industry, another industry, who can really help you think about your long-term career strategy, okay? Again, going back to the mentor, is someone who's a senior trusted advisor who guides and listens to you to help you manage your career, right? So this might be more on a year, 6 to 6 month basis. So for example, if you're thinking about, you know what, I feel like I've outgrown this role and I'm ready to take the next challenge, and you go to your mentor for that. That's different from thinking about the long-term strategy, which is really someone who is the Rock, who can provide you with that advice, right? I also want you to start thinking about mentorship, not only horizontal, right, but vertical. So someone who's a rising star. It could be typically someone who's 5 plus years younger than you. It's important for you to start connecting also with someone who's younger than you. It's because you want to know what younger generations are thinking about. All of you are preparing to enter uh, workplaces where there will be generational differences, right? So it's great if you start to cultivate these relationships as well, because at one point you will also be mentoring people, right? And so that rising star is a talent that you can start to cultivate and you can start to give back. But maybe you want to know, what are the young people thinking about, right? How's technology impacting their life? How should I be thinking about technology? What are they worried about that I should be worried about? Right? So a rising star gives you insight to a younger generation, and the challenges that they're experiencing and how you can relate those challenges to your life and identify potential opportunities. I want to encourage all of you to think of your peers, your classmates, anybody that you work with, someone who's dependable and you can look for advice on a day-to-day basis, right? Sometimes things happen in the workplace, especially as first generation students, as people of color, and you might be caught off guard, right? You may be like, whoa, did this just really happen, right? Or you need advice. Like, I really want to pitch this to senior leadership. How can I do that, right? And maybe your peer or a classmate, right? If you're pitching something to a professor or in a class, can provide immediate guidance to you. Okay, so don't underestimate the power of building this board. Think about inviting people who are younger, who are older, who are more experienced, people who are on the same level as you, right? And these people who are at the same level as you can provide you reassurance that what you're doing is up to date, it's relevant, it's important, and it'll build your confidence as a professional. All right. Many of you may want to start thinking about a coach, right? Someone to hold you accountable and start to build professional goals with you. Oftentimes at your career centers, the career advisors can serve this role for you, right? Once you leave college, you can hire one. We'll talk about different ways to have a coach, but that is one of the best ways that you can start to get help immediately while you're a college student is to go to your career center and have a college advisor, a career counselor advise you on what are the next steps you should be taking, right? Is it updating your resume? Is it working on your interview skills? Do you need to update that LinkedIn, right? And bring it up to par with your current experiences? So think of a coach as someone to provide actionable steps and goals to really build from to take your career to the next step or to the next level. Okay, so a soundboard. How many of you ever need to just talk things out, right? So you have a really great idea, um, but it's only in your head, right? Having someone who is an active listener and who can provide you feedback and advice, you can consider them your soundboard, right? Someone that you run things by. So think of who can play that role in my life, right? Someone who can just listen to me, go on and on about like this great idea that I have, or sometimes you might have some insecurities that you're dealing with, right? And they can provide you with reassurance. Okay, so think about your soundboard. Um, Last but not least, I have a sponsor slash an influencer. And I don't want you to think about this as a social media influencer. I want you to think of an influencer as someone who can convince others and vouch for your experiences. Okay. So depending on the route that you're taking, if you're going into the corporate sector, if you're going into the public sector, it could be called a sponsor or an influencer. But think of someone who will name drop your room when you're not in there, right? So I was just on LinkedIn 2 days ago, and someone said, I didn't know that this person was on my board, but they have been advocating for me years after years. And because of their efforts, I received this promotion. Okay. So think about who will speak well of your behalf, who will vouch for your talent when you're not in the room, right? Especially where decisions are being made. Whether it's giving you a new project, whether it's, considering you for a promotion, whether it's thinking about you for a scholarship or for another program that you may be considered for, think about who can make that influence for you without you being in the room. Okay. On the flip side, I just talked a lot about professional and what professional roles people can play in your life. As first generation students and people of color who are navigating into the workplace, these are some of the personal board members that you might consider having on your board. The first one is a financial coach. And I'll go a little bit more into this in the next slide. But many of you, for the first time in your life, will be making a significant amount of money that you haven't made previous to your first level job. Okay. And with that said, you're going to need advice, right? So if you're thinking about moving, getting your own place, how to manage that, if you're thinking about getting your first credit card, if you have questions about retirement, right? Once you get onboarded, there'll be all of these questions about tax withholdings, community benefit program. Find out someone who's already navigated these tricky situations and start to think about how they can advise you and provide that information. Really having open financial conversations, right? We want to make sure we're setting you up for success long term, right? So the sooner you start to learn about these different financial tools that are available to you, the sooner you'll be able to make informed decisions and set yourself up for financial success. Okay. All right. As all of you progress through life, you might want to learn how to manage your personal relationships, right? So relationship gurus. And it could be your best friend who provides you with advice. It could be a professional as well. Or it could be someone who has a long-standing, really exemplary relation with a significant other. It might just be someone who's really good at networking, right? So find out if that's something that you want or that you desire, right? Start to think about that and build into that so that you are able to build the life that you want. Okay. I also want to highlight a cheerleader, right? Someone who is super positive and they can always motivate you and they can always celebrate your wins, right? Sometimes we're having low moments in our life when you're like, I quit, this is it, I'm never going to get it, right? The imposter syndrome, the self doubt starts to kick in. I want you to think of someone who can really uplift you and bring you back to life, right? So they're the CPR people who are really coming in here to say, you know what? You got this. You're going to be able to work your way through this. You're so close to graduation. I believe in you, right? And sometimes you just need that person to give you that pep talk to bring you back to, oh my goodness, like what was I thinking? She's right or they're right, right? So think about who that person can be, all right? And maybe you already have someone in your life who does that for you. And then I want to talk about the work balance pro. So some of these people have successfully figured out how to balance work, or maybe it's remote work, hybrid work, their hobbies, right? Doing the day-to-day tasks of cooking, cleaning, right? What us normal people are doing. And if you find someone in your life who's already mastered it, think about cultivating that relationship as well to learn about maybe the strategies or tips that they're implementing in their life, right? And how that can translate into your life. So think about anyone who has an admirable work-life balance, and think about them as a work-life balance pro, and see if you can incorporate some of the strategies that you're using into your life, especially as you're transitioning into the world of work or you're transitioning from undergrad to graduate, right? What has made them successful? All right. Um, a stylist, right? So dressing to make a great first impression. I left this one as a personal. So fashion is an outlet for all of you to express who you are, where you're going, right? And if you're not sure how to dress, try to think about, who can I seek out some fashion advice, some styling advice, how to dress for your body, right? We have different body types to really make an impression. And I left this blank because the impression could be for yourself, it could be in the workplace, right? So think about that. So if that's something that you're curious about, right? I think that online and social media are a great place also if you're not looking to formally hire anyone. For anyone who is a parent here, I myself am a mom. So I wanted to put in here the momager. The momager is a successful mom who manages her home life. Okay, so they have a great career and they have a great family life. And oftentimes you want to see, what strategies are they using in their life to make them really successful, right? Maybe they get up very early. Maybe they're meal planning. I don't know, right? So everybody has a secret sauce to get that family life, right? Or if it's something that you want, start to think about some of the strategies that they're using, right? For me, for example, I in graduate school met someone who who was a great mom, who was a great career person, right? And who also made great financial decisions. And so I've cultivated that relationship throughout these years. And so for me, they kind of tick one, two, three, all in one. So also wanted to provide that example as an opportunity for you to think about maybe one person can play multiple roles. The other thing is, I don't want you to feel like you need to hire people, right? At some point, maybe you will have that luxury to hire a financial coach, hiring a stylist, right? Getting some help at home to have a great work life balance. But again, that's not necessarily the intention behind presenting to you a personal board where you can start to think of different aspects of your personal life that you're incorporating. So you do not have to hire people. These are just roles that people actively play in your life, and they may already be doing these things. We just have to sit back and analyze what they're doing really well. Okay. Here, I am giving you all, as an example, a personal board of advisors of 5 people that you can think of building for yourselves or start as a template to replicate, right? So start to think of, do I have a mentor? If I don't, I think I need to get one. We'll start to talk more about where you can find these people. A financial coach, right? Maybe graduation is on your mind and you're like, yeah, I really want to open up my first credit card and I don't know what that really entails. I'm going to have a little bit of student loans to pay back. So think about who in your life, maybe it's a recent grad who's already navigating these situations, right? Who can advise you on how are the best practices to go about this. The rock, right? Having someone who is seasoned and is an industry expert, right? So someone who can start to help you think more long-term strategy, what your career goals are, right? So again, thinking about that person and cultivating, maybe even starting by identifying them. And then think about a peer, right? Who is coming up with you? Right now, you're in a very unique place in life where you get to see everyone consistently all the time, but that won't always be the case, right? Eventually, you'll have to be really intentional and go out of your way to meet up with people again. So start to think about even now cultivating those relationships. So if you've been putting off coffee with a classmate, again, activate those networking skills because you don't know where they're going to go in life and you want to stay in contact with them. Okay. And last but not least, I would encourage all of you to have a cheerleader. A cheerleader is really there to help you build your confidence, build your self esteem, and reassure you that what you're doing is correct, right? Or is the best for you. So this is just an example. I'm providing five. These are interchangeable with wherever you may be in your career. Okay. So maybe right now you don't need a financial coach, right? Maybe right now you don't need a rock. You're not able to get a rock. So your board is right now only a mentor, a peer, and a cheerleader. And that is a great place to start. Okay. Just know that a personal board of advisors isn't built overnight, isn't built in 1 year. It takes many years to build a board where you can finally say, wow, look at all these wonderful people that are here for me and that support. So in the beginning, you might only have two. Right now, you may only have one, and that's okay. I want to let you know that this is a long-term process of building and cultivating relationships that takes time and process. Okay. And again, many of you are thinking, all right, I'm excited. I'm ready to build my board. Where can I find these people? Right. So start thinking about who already might be in your immediate proximity, right? So your peers, and if you are in the workforce, right? Maybe someone in your office. Again, since you're in class, many of your classmates might be on your board, your colleagues, right? Many of your professors can serve on your board either as the rock or as a mentor or whatever is the best place you've given them, maybe even as a cheerleader, right? And also a mentor, right? If you don't have a mentor, I strongly encourage you to start to cultivate that relationship, right? And then mentor, a way that you can identify them is you can identify a role that you aspire to have one day and start to cultivate that relationship with this person, okay? Um, so for example, I'll just use me if I were to want to one day be like vice president of student affairs, I'm still not sure about that, right? But I'm curious about it. Maybe I start to look locally. So I'll look here at Baruch. I know that we have a wonderful person in that role right now. And maybe I can start to think about ways that I can approach this person so that they can be a person on my board, such as maybe the ROC or mentorship, right? Maybe that is too far stretch. You're like, that's very long-term thinking. Maybe you just want to talk to your professor and stop by their office hours, right? Maybe they have a very cool job outside of when they teach in their 9 to 5. And you're like, wow, I really love the social justice works that they do at this specific nonprofit, right? Let me stop by their office hours to start to talk to learn more about what they do on a day-to-day basis. Okay. And that's just one way that you can start to network. And some relationships happen very organically, right? So you meet up a few times and it becomes a thing, right? And sometimes you have to be very intentional. So the board can be as formal and as informal as you want it to be, right? So some people might be on your board already and you have it in your mind and they don't know it yet. So you can make a formal ask, or you can just keep that mind in the back of your mind, okay? All right. So in the meantime, I do know that I covered in the personal, especially some roles where you might have felt that they were out of reach. Okay. So I want to encourage you to use placeholder experts while you really think about who might be able to fulfill those roles for you. Um, Books, social media influencers who are experts in their field, big disclaimer there. Podcasts are ways for you to get information. So for here, I'll talk about really the financial aspect because I think that financial literacy is very important for people graduating college and going into the workplace. And I'll make a pitch for some wonderful people that I think that you can go to. So if you don't have like a formal person that you think you can go to for that type of advice, I know that sometimes talking about finances is still taboo. I'm going to give a pitch for uh, experts in their field who can hold this place while you really think about who to identify. So there's Tiffany Alicia. She's the budgetista. She wrote a book called Get Good with Money. So if you're taking notes, make sure you're writing her name down. She's great at creating budgets and giving advice on how to maximize every dollar that comes to you. There's Vivian too, the Rich BFF. She wrote Rich AF, Winning Money Mindset, to really get you to think about how you can generate and bring wealth into your life. And last but not least, I have to give out a shout out to Berna, who's your money woman hype. And she wrote Money Out Loud. And these are all women of color who have taken their experiences in working in corporate and other sectors as well, and really written from a first gen experience and talking about the financial tools they wish they would have had, right? So unofficially, they have joined your board of directors, right? And they're able to provide areas of expertise that you might not have access to or that you might not be thinking about. And again, these are placeholders, right? Or maybe they have a more permanent spot, right, on your board of advisors. So I'm just giving you an example of what it can look like for you to use books, social media as a way to get knowledge and fill the gaps that you might have. Okay. Also, many of you might be thinking about your board and saying, why would someone want to help me? Right? You have to know and believe in the power of networking and think and believe that people are more than willing to help you. Okay. Especially if when they look at you, they see a younger version of themselves, right? It's like, wow, what would have I given if someone more seasoned and more experience or who's an expert in this field would have told me this when I was this age, right? So you will be surprised at how much people are willing to share and how much people are willing to give back to you. Okay, so don't be shy and don't think that people don't want to invest in you. And again, start to think in the power of networking, start to believe that people want to invest in you. So it's also about shifting your mindset. And yes, it's about putting yourself out there. And yes, it's about practicing your networking skills. Okay, so start to think more about that as you're thinking about like, why would anyone want to be a part of my board? And start to think about letting go of that self doubt and inviting people in to nurture you. And again, it takes multiple people to build the best version of yourself. Okay. For those of you that are like me and that are very, very analytical, and you need like action steps, right? So I've created these 5 steps for you on how to actually go ahead and build your board of advisors. Okay, so the number one is you need to take a self inventory. What does that mean? You have to understand what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, right? Your areas of improvements, and what are your future aspirations, right? So before you get out and start asking people to be part of this board, or before you start adding people to your board, think about what are the things that I want to learn, right? So I gave the example of financial coach. That's something that somebody might want to learn. But maybe I want to improve my marketing skills. I want to improve my pitch. I want to improve my resume, right? Or maybe I want to understand this particular job or this particular industry. First, start there, do a self inventory, right? See where you're at, right? So check the room temperature with yourself. And then it'll allow you to really start to think about what you want to do and where you're going, which takes me to step number 2, which is setting goals, right? So where are you moving? What are you moving towards? What is the next big thing that you are going to need help with? Is it you're graduating and you need a full-time job? Is it you're a junior and you're looking for an internship, right? Are you a parent, right? And maybe you are an expecting mom or father, right? What is it that you want to do and move towards so that you're able to identify people that will cultivate these skills that you're looking to gain and master, okay? And then number 3 is once you know where you're going, what you need to work on, identify potential board members, okay? So if we would have been in person, I would have had you all with a piece of paper writing a list out of people that could potentially be on your board. Think about all of the roles that I've covered and pick maybe 2, okay? So identify potential board members, okay? And then you have to ask, right? So again, it can be very formal or it can be very informal, okay? If you're doing a very informal board where it's just really you keeping track of which relationships you're managing and how you're managing, But in the case that you do want it to be a more formal board, something that you might say, and I have a prompt for you because many of you might want that and might need that. You can say, you know what, dear Marlene, I recently attended a workshop on building a board of advisors, and I was really inspired. And I value your expertise in, I don't know, XYZ, right? And you could say, and I really consider you to be an influential person in my life. And I'd like to formally invite you to be a part of my personal board of advisors. And it would mean the world to me, or something along those lines, if we could talk more about what this means. Okay. And then follow up with them. Let them know what your expectations are. Are you looking to meet with them maybe once a month? Once every 6 months, right? Set up some expectations for being a part of your board and what that looks like. Okay, so again, it can be casual and informal, or it can be as formal as you want it to be. Okay. Last but not least, always remember to give back to your board. Okay. How can you give back? Right. So many of you being like, what? Throughout networking, one of the most important things that you can do is you can give back to people. Right. So if your Rob um, made put maybe a position on your radar that you had no idea about, and you apply and you get that role, it's very important that you go back and you let that person know, hey, I got the role. Thank you so much for your guidance. You know, it really made a difference. It inspired me to apply and inspired me to put my best effort into the application process. Okay. And then your rock is like, all right, you know, cheerleading you on, is proud and will vouch for you again. Okay. So think about ways like that. Okay. Just as an example of how to give back to your board. Okay. The other part that I talked about is at one point, you will go from being a mentee to being a mentor. Right. And you can start to put opportunities back on your mentee's radar, right? In the same way that you might be able to do that for a colleague. You could be like, you know what? I went to this meeting and they talked about this upcoming opportunity, and I thought you would be a great fit. And here's the information. I want to encourage you to apply to that, right? That person is going to remember you thinking about them and encouraging them to apply or putting on that radar. So the same thing that someone else is doing for you, make sure you're always giving back. Make sure that you're always keeping your board outdated, right? If someone gave you financial advice on how to buy a car and you were able to do it, make sure you follow up and let them know in your best preferred communication with this person. Okay. All right. So I have been doing a lot of talking. So I want to get some help from all of you. So I want you to help build an advisory board for Daniela, and I'll set the scene. So Daniela and I want all of you to tell me in the chat what types of roles you would advise Daniela to have. Okay, sorry about that. So Daniela is an undergraduate at SPS, and she's majoring in psychology this spring. She has decided that she wants to become a high school guidance counselor, and she's excited and nervous about graduation. She knows she will not be able to go to graduate school right after college, and she plans to work and then return to school. At the age of 26, she's ready to move out of her parents' house, and she recently learned you need a good credit score to get rent an apartment. She's feeling overwhelmed and does not know where to start since she does not have a credit card. At SPS, she met Carice, now her good friend, who has successfully moved out and is preparing for graduate school. So, what advice would you have for Daniela? Who are the people that you would encourage her to have on her advisory board, right? Who should she be looking out to? I'm going to encourage you to just put it in the chat. Let us know what you're thinking. Remember, there's no right or wrong answer. It just depends on what you think is more important for her to focus on right now. Okay, so I see Catherine is saying career services. So definitely, she could benefit from career services to help her navigate maybe the transition from undergraduate to graduate school, right? So start to think about and know more about how to apply to graduate school. Denise said Carice is a great place to start. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that? Why Carice might be a great person for her to reach out to? Okay, Kay just jumped in on the conversation and she said that she recently has very similar experiences that Daniela is seeking, right? So she might fulfill the role of a peer, right? So Carice might be someone that she really wants to cultivate, not maybe as a friend, right? Yeah, so because she's doing what she's looking to do, right, we already have someone who successfully navigated a very similar situation and who can provide a path for Daniela, right? So, and this isn't someone who's an industry leader, this isn't someone who's a mentor, it's her friend, right? So think about that. Friendship goes a long way, and friends are always going to hopefully look out for you. You want to surround yourself with people who are intentional about helping you build. Okay, so talk to her high school counselor about the field and insights into the field, right? So she can reach all the way back to her own high school counselor, right? And maybe she might get a industry leader, someone who's been in the field for over 15 years, who can provide her with the ins and outs of what it's like to be a guidance counselor, how this person became a guidance counselor, and what it's like to work with high school students, right? Very important information that she might need. Okay, so thank you everyone for helping with this slide. I'm just giving you this as an example for you to start thinking more about what this looks like. And I see that Shanice just dropped in here a financial planner. Yeah, so maybe Daniela should start to think about a financial planner, especially if she's thinking about moving out, right? So she's worried about the credit score. But there's other factors that might go into that. For example, what is her budget, right? What is her budget for rent? Or is she looking to buy? Does she have savings? Does she have no savings? Right? So someone who can help her make an informed decision about what's the best practice and best way for her to be able to successfully do this. Okay, so now I want to get you all to start thinking about yeah, so these are some of the examples that I had on here. I forgot about my animation. Um, I want to bring it back to you, right? Um, think about yourself and you might not know like immediately, but maybe as I was going through the presentation and the slides, people that are in your company were popping up, right? People who you're like, oh, that person could really be this. They could be the rock, they could be my stylist, things like that. So think about two current people that in their who could serve a role for you. So we don't have to be exact about sharing names, but you can say in the chat, like, I have identified someone who can be the rock, someone who can be a cheerleader. I have identified two people who might be able to help me navigate this particular situation, right? Maybe you're a mom and you're like, I know this amazing mom and I want to cultivate that relationship more the momager, right? Or you know a student that has a really great work-life balance, right? Work in this case being studying. So drop that in the chat and let us know two people that you have identified at least, or maybe one in your current circle. And then I see Carmen just added also from the previous slide that you could ask others such, okay, yes, I agree with you. So I'll give you a second to think about that. So just start to think about who can be part of your board. Hey, I see Abby raised her hand. You want to go ahead, come off mute and let us know? Okay. So I want to leave some time for questions and answers. So I hope that all of you have taken away, or maybe you're still in deep thought, thinking about, who should I reach out to, right? I will, if any of you have questions, I'm going to run a brief 5 to 10 minute question. We just still have some slides that SPS wants to present. But again, networking is very important. I'm sharing my email here, also my LinkedIn for anyone who's looking to cultivate a relationship with someone in the higher ed space. Offering that opportunity here about how I decided to be part of higher ed and career services specifically. But if anybody has any questions so far, feel free. This is the moment, this is your chance to ask. Abby, I'm not sure if that was a question or if you want to share your board. Okay, do you want to go ahead and type your question into the chat? Okay, so Shanice is letting us know that so far on her board, she has a coworker, a few friends, and a few classmates. Fantastic. So it sounds like you have your basis of immediate covered. I would encourage you to start thinking about long term, right? Who can be your rock or your industry professional? Just putting it out there, pitching that as maybe the fourth person that you want to onboard to your board of advisors.
Can tech support help Abby unmute herself? Because she said she's been trying.
I don't think we have that ability. We can ask her to unmute, which we did. But other than that, there's nothing we can do if her audio is not active.
Okay, and then sorry about that, Abby. We hope that you can join the conversation via chat. I see that Shanice also added that she does have someone. So my industry professional is my current boss. Okay, fantastic. And then we have Peta, her professor is a school advisor, classmates, and you started building on LinkedIn. Fantastic. So yes, that's also a great place for you to start building your network. So I hope that all of you have taken away something from this presentation. I know that we end soon. So I do want to pass it back to SPS so that they can finish off the presentation. My PowerPoint is giving me technical difficulties. I'm not sure if you have your last slides. Okay, there's Rashma. Okay, but thank you so much, everyone, and thank you for participating. I'll pass it back to Rashma.
All right. Thank you, Marlene, for a very informative and inspiring presentation. I myself, I know I learned a lot from the presentation, and I hope it is the same from, for our students that are attending this presentation. We would like CUNY SPS students to know about our career services office, which helps with resume, cover letter, interview prep and job search advisement sessions, career assessment tests, find job and internship postings, career resources and document library, LinkedIn and social media training, mock interviews, career development webinars. On the right side is our career service team. We encourage our SPS students to make use of this service, and non-SPS students can please look at their university website to find their own career service office, which may offer similar services. Second slide, please. CUNY SPS offers a professional development grant for students to engage in professional development or career advancement activities. And what does the grant support? It supports conference-related expenses, registration fees for locally based workshops, professional association membership. The grant award a maximum of $250 per academic year, and it must be approved prior to purchasing. And this is not active in winter or summer semester. And you can use this QR codes and to get more information. Next slide. We also have a raffle for the book Recalculating by Lindsay Pollack. Lindsay Pollack emphasizes that COVID-19 has accelerated existing career and hiring trends, leading to a new normal with hybrid work, virtual communication, and increased focus on well-being. Drawing on her expertise, she provides actionable advice on education, personal branding, networking, reskilling, and self-care to help individuals thrive in this evolving landscape. Another raffle prize is an increase in the professional development grant by $150 instead of $250. The student who wins this prize can apply for up to $400. And a disclaimer is these two prizes are only for eligible CUNY SPS students. For those who complete the survey and would like to apply for this grant, please enter your CUNY SPS email. Other emails will not be considered for these prizes. So you have to be an SPS student to participate in these prizes. And non-SPS students are eligible to win CUNY SPS swag and may enter to win that prize. Next slide. How do you apply for the raffle? Each student who completes the survey will have a chance to enter into the raffle. Please scan the QR code or visit the link in the chat to complete the survey and enter into the raffle. And we also will be, if you didn't have a chance to do it now, we'll encourage you to do it now. But if not, we're going to be sending you an email right after the presentation. We really encourage you to fill out the evaluation because we would like to know, what you learn and how we can do better with our future presentation. So thank you again to our amazing presenter, Marlene Fernandez-Herrera. As I said before, myself, I learned a lot from your presentation. And to all those who attended tonight's session, this afternoon session. Our next session is Career in Business and Technology Networking, which will take place tonight, this evening at 6 p.m. And this workshop will focus on how to cultivate a supportive network for career growth, discover the concept of an advisory board, a small group offering career advice and support. Participants will explore how diverse advisors enhance your journey, will assess your current network, identify gaps, and set goals, gain insights on building relationships, and differentiate between mentorship and advisory board. So we encourage you to join the session tonight. And maybe if you know of a friend that that can benefit from it, invite a friend to join in also. Thank you again for all who are attending this workshop today.